information is coming. The information is coming. Here it is. Here it is.
So here's the circumstances of this scenario. Excuse me. Here's the circumstance of my scenario about not being able to get in school. Some years ago, I went to a school called the Sawyer School of Clifton. Back in the 80s, you had a lot of fly-by-night schools that were robbing and defrauding students. This is exactly what happened to me. One day, I went to the Sawyer Business School. I went there for business management, and I've always excelled academically. Luckily, I've always had a taste for academics. I always enjoyed academics. I've always excelled and enjoyed excelling in academics. So I went to the Sawyer. This was 81, 82, I believe, when I first started going. About 3 months into our curriculum, I'm not going to say we came to class one day, and the school inside was dark, and the door was locked. Come to find out, the school had been shut down. What did they do to the students? The Clifton School, the Sawyer School, and I'm going to tell you why they had two different names. That's another scam that scumbag schools do to defraud. The Sawyer School of Clifton, the Sawyer Business School, basically, after everyone got their financial aid loan, their student loan from from wherever the private entity or the state entity that was contracting with private entities to help defraud students, wherever that money came from, when they got that money, I remember they got over 2,500, 330, I think it was 25 or $3,500 for my education. What they did was, when they got that money in total, there was about 180 students that was going to the Sawyer School. That's 180 students times $3,500. You do the math. $3,500 or more dollars, depending on what curriculum they were taking. You do the math. One day we came to school. The school had shut down. They were gone, and we were just shit out of luck, as they say. SOL, shit out of luck. School was just shut completely down. Left us holding the bag for the loans. Now, I got this information from the federal government about when and where and how. So, I have not heard one thing since last February. Okay, so it's been a year now. I have not heard one thing from the federal government in a year. Ain't heard nothing, ladies and gentlemen, from the federal government about my student loan forgiveness. Okay? What I'm going to do after I finish this scenario with our business podcasting, what have you, I'll eventually call them up and try to get them back on point with my loan. If I'm lucky, they have already dismissed my loan. If not, that new ruling by the federal judge yesterday, saying that $6 billion in loan forgiveness, hopefully I'm in that pool. And hopefully, if you're in the same boat and got defrauded by your bum ass school, hopefully you are in that pool too. You see, what happens is these scumbags, they'll close down under one name and then open back up under another. That school opened back up under another name after they defrauded us. They opened up under another name, Clifton School of Business. That school too closed down and defrauded. It was basically the same people getting more money, defrauding us, more students. Oh man. And then when you had that, and then when under the Trump administration, that scumbag administration, remember, here's a bit of quality of life information. This fool puts a person in charge of the Department of Education that did not have a clue to how to run a United States government entity in charge of people's lives. Remember, most of the people that Trump hired in his cabinet were bad people in general that were just rich. They had no mental acumen to do the job that he hired them for. And that idiot, Betsy DeVos, or DeVos, who, by the way, owns the Orlando Magic and Amway Center. That's why they call it the Amway Center. Multi-level marketing. Made their fortune with multi-level marketing. A variation of the pyramid scheme. But we won't go into that, not quite yet. This woman totally dropped the ball because she was stupid. And I'm not saying that because she's a woman and a Republican. I'm saying that because she was a damn idiot that did not have a clue how to run a government entity. This woman barely had to lift a finger most of her life, and then most of her married life, she didn't have to do anything. So where did she suddenly get the mental acumen and the experience to run the Department of Education? She never had that mental toughness or the mental acumen to run the Department of Education. Why am I telling you all of this? Because it's quality of life information. You see, her idiotic stupidity led to hundreds of thousands of student loan forgiveness applications languishing and not being addressed. Okay? That was the previous administration. Terrible people with very important jobs that affect our quality of life. Just terrible people. Look more into the Sweet versus Cardona lawsuit filed by private entities that want to help get student loan forgiveness, because the third party people who are trying to get people to pay those loans, I don't trust those people one bit. Predatory lending in housing, you got predatory lending in general, folks. These people are predators. They're not here to help. They're predators looking to make a fast buck off you. And that's basically what happened with the school I went to. They had no intention of giving education. They were waiting for our checks to clear from the government. And remember, the government facilitated these loans. My name is Robert Isaiah. This is IVMS, Insight Volunteer Management Services. This is the IVMS Infopod. episode 2. The next thing we're going to talk about, and I have many things to talk about, as you can see. I mean, I try to give you as much info as I can. There are a lot of things out there that will affect people in a big way. It's going to affect your quality of life. Okay? It is going to affect your quality of life. And if it's done by irresponsible scumbags, I don't care what government entity they work for, it's going to affect you, your quality of life, negatively. That's what we're here for. For instance, there's going to be a proposed rule that's going to affect SSI beneficiaries, which by default will affect disability beneficiaries. They're going to start excluding food from the way it calculates what's known as the in-kind support and maintenance. In other words, if you have to, when you certify for your bennies or some sort of benny, for instance, I'm on Section 8, and I'm grateful to be on Section 8. Because I wouldn't be able to afford with my little check that I get from disability. I suffer from seizures. I wouldn't be able to afford my rent without Section 8. So I try to stay on top of my Section 8 paperwork, especially when it's time to recertify. And one of the things that people get run into is the in-kind support that family members may give, those monies that you are given, if it reaches a certain threshold, I think at least $1,000, you got to report that as income. Anything under 1,000, you don't have to. Okay. One of my shows is going to be donated to talking about certifications, talking about Section 8, talking about how to manipulate the Section 8 system to your benefit, how to understand how your benefits are calculated. Maybe I'll do it now, I don't know. But I do know this. You can't pay more than 30% of your income base towards your rent. But anyway, getting back to how disability and SSI bennies are going to be recalced. The statement is we have historically included in-kind receipt of food in our consideration because food assistance helps people meet their basic needs. However, the complexities of our current food, in-kind support, and maintenance policies may outweigh their utility. What does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? Translation. That means that they know that people are starving and that they try to get food from anywhere they can, but that food benefit that they're getting, that should not be calculated as some sort of income or asset, which is unconscionably irresponsible. But we're talking about the U.S. government, and as you well know, the U.S. government does not always have our best interests at heart. They are more interested in helping businesses. By the way, do you know why the CIA? Here's a bit of quality of life information. We're jumping around here, I know, but this is information. That's how information is. It's spontaneous. Do you know why the CIA was created? Back in the day in the 40s, the CIA was created to protect American business interests abroad. That's why they were created. It was not created for any altruistic, public-minded purpose. No. The CIA is nothing more than a tool of American businesses. Keep that in mind when you start dealing and understanding why the CIA does what it does. When you hear about the CIA destabilizing countries, they are destabilizing these countries for the benefit of corporate interest. You don't have to believe me. Look up the history of the CIA, and I'm sure you will agree that what I'm telling you is absolutely the truth. By the way, if you want some more insight on how this country works and how it has worked in the past and why it has worked and what it has done to us as consumers, as human beings, watch the movie Zeitgeist. 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 I think it was a trilogy. You'll have a different perspective on the United States once you watch Zeitgeist. Believe me, the U.S. government is not here for the benefit of its constituents, of the people, for the people, by the people. No. U.S. government is here to protect corporate interests only. If you don't believe me, just look at how the U.S. government has handled certain quality of life issues for the American people. And seeing that I'm a person of color, I'm a black man, and damn proud of it. My race has been vilified by this U.S. government, ostracized by this U.S. government, and every negative component that this country could think of to subjugate black people who were stolen or bought, but mostly stolen from another country and brought here. You see, black people here's a bit of quality of life information. Black people are unique in this American diaspora. We are not native to this country. We were brought here as property of another human being to work for free. Why am I saying this? All these POSs out there that are talking about this critical race theory, bull crap, bullshit that has absolutely nothing to do with reality. You see, I might have mentioned this on the previous episode of our InfoPod. You see, these people who are talking about woke, which I have no clue what that means. This is another distracting term to keep you from realizing what is actually being done right in front of your face. As a person of color, a black man, I know exactly what these racist pieces of filth are attempting, like DeSantis, like Republican-led states, talking about they don't want certain things taught in schools. In reality, they're doing what is called revisionist history. They are attempting revisionist history. They are attempting to paint how the United States got to financial prominence in this world. They're trying to paint a new picture of how that occurrence came into fruition. You see, this country got what it has off the backs of another race's misery, another person's misery, plain and simple. Any time you have bring or steal a person from another country, or buy a person from another country, but mostly steal a person from another country, transplant them here as slave labor. I was going to say regular labor, but slave labor, working from sun up to sundown for free. Do you think that would give you a financial advantage? At least in China, they pay them a small wage for their slavery. In this country, the slave was paid nothing, barely given education, barely given food, barely given medical attention. And then the laws that these pieces of filth created to subjugate further the aspirations of black people who were brought here as slave labor, thereby destroying the basis of family life. You want to understand why black people are here in this country still being subjugated, for instance, by the scum of the earth police? Because this is what this country does and has done historically. For the pieces of filth out there that want to be duped, and I'm not talking about the decent people of all races that don't fall for that filth that's being perpetrated about critical race theory, wokeness, triflingness. Okay? They are trying to revise history. History cannot be revised. It can only be referred to. It can only be repeated. It can only be continued. The history and the past of this country's legacy was built on the backs of another person's misery, plain and simple. That's why this country has what it has. Look, this country didn't get what it got from hard work. Only some people got where they got from hard work and skin color. And don't let any person, black, white, blue, or green, Hispanic, African, Jamaican, Protestant, or Catholic, tell you any different. This country has what it has because it got what it has off the backs of another person's misery. And believe me, slavery was misery. To show you how strong and great black people are, we have risen somewhat against all odds of slavery to be at the point where we are at right now. Why? Because of our guts, our brains, and our motivation. Notice that all the races after us are doing better than us. Do you think that's not by design? Are you dumb enough to think that black people don't work just as hard as any? Hey, we were slaves. We built this country. We are working just as hard as we can to make our lives better. But the irony is, you have people who are working just as hard against keeping us from getting anywhere in this country, and have been doing so for the past 400 some odd years. Excuse me. Okay? Excuse me. Okay. I still have COVID. You have to excuse me. I still have chest congestion. I apologize. So, anytime you hear one of these dummies, one of these silly, dumbass people, excuse me. Anytime you hear one of these dumbass people talking that bullshit about critical race theory, just shake your head and laugh at their stupidity. When they say critical race theory, you say revisionist history back to them. I'm going to bet you they're so dumb they won't know what you're talking about. But the ones that are lying, and the reason they are lying about critical race theory, they'll know what you mean, and you will shut their dumb asses right up. They say critical race theory, they say wokeness, you say revisionist history is being practiced right before our very eyes. Okay? Notice that certain people in the government, they're trying to turn back the clock to the good old days when black people were laughing, clowning, yes, a bossing. Okay? They want to return to that type of scenario regarding this country. They want to turn back the clock. That's why they got these racist, ultra conservative pieces of filth on the Supreme Court. Do you know these people are actually debating the validity of Biden's student loan scenario? The so-called court of the Supreme Court of America? That's a no-brainer. You should get rid of that cancellation debt, because the debt is what back in the day they had debtor's prison. Now your prison is invisible, but the same effect. That's some quality of life information for you. Back in the day, they had debtor's prisons. They put you in stockades. Now, your stockade, your prison is invisible, but the same effect. And people, and there are certain people in this country, they want it that way. Okay? There are several foods. We're going to switch topics for a minute, and then I'm going to let you go back to your lives. There are several foods that help reduce body fat. You might want to take a look at them bad boys, because you definitely want to start reducing your dependence about foods that hurt you as opposed to foods that help you. Excuse me. As I said earlier, and I'll reiterate, if you have a cold or you have COVID, do not eat sweets, do not smoke, do not drink alcohol, none of that. Lay off for at least a week or two if you can. You'll feel much better. Trust me. We were also talking about that Paxlovid. Here's 13 things to know about Paxlovid, just in case you didn't know them before. First of all, Paxlovid is the pharmaceutical name brand for nirmatrelvir and ritonavir. I'm probably saying that wrong. Let me try it again. Nirmatrelvir. Look, you can't even pronounce the name, okay? We can't even pronounce the name. Nirmatrelvir and ritonavir, okay? 2 generic medications. As I stated, the FDA granted a EUA, emergency use authorization, for this drug. And it's basically, Paxlovid is 2 separate meds that are packaged together. You take a 3-pill dose. 2 of those pills will be the nirmatrelvir, and which inhibits a key enzyme that the COVID virus requires in order to make the bigger virus that makes you sick. And the other drug is ritonavir, and it is essentially, it shuts down nirmatrelvir's metabolism in the liver so that it doesn't move out of your body as quickly, which means it can work longer, giving it a boost to help fight the infection. You have to take the Paxlovid within 5 days of developing symptoms. Now, I knew that I wasn't going to take it. That's another reason why I didn't take it, because by the time I was able and well enough to go out with a mask on after my 5-day isolation. Keep that in mind. A 5-day isolation. Now you say, well, why didn't you have the drug delivered? When I asked them if they wanted to, if they could deliver the drug, they told me that yeah, but we only have delivery by mail. Oh wow, that's a big help. Thanks. Got it. So that's one thing you should know. And you basically supposed to take pills twice daily for 5 days for a full course that adds up to 30 pills. Uh, Basically, people 12 or older can get the drug, but in order to qualify, you must also have a positive COVID-19 test result. That's usually no problem. Nobody's going to go out and try to get a drug when they don't have any COVID. Okay? Although, that is not exactly not prudent to do that, because they didn't ask me for any proof that I had COVID. Although they realize that nobody's going to say they have COVID if they don't. But then again, if you want to get the drug prior to getting any COVID symptoms and have it around, I'm not going to tell you to do anything dishonest. But if you want to be prudent and have the drug available just in case you do or somebody in your family does get COVID, I can't dissuade you from doing that. Nor am I. If you're pregnant or breastfeeding, FDA recommends discussing your options in specific situations with your healthcare provider. Okay? Don't go jumping on the COVID until you discuss, because remember, the Paxlovid, it got a lot of side effects that may or may not been fully explored to the extent that it could have, because this drug is given out on the emergency use authorization. That to me sounds like EUA. The emergency use authorization is basically allowing pharmaceutical companies to take shortcuts and rush. And remember, this drug is from China and Italy, respectively. And again, as I stated, I don't trust American pharmaceutical companies for good reasons. Remember, black people don't trust doctors, and they have a damn good reason not to. Here's a bit of quality of life information. Remember, this government, the United States government, experimented on black Americans back in early in the 19th century, or was it the 20th century? 1900. They experimented on black people to test the effects of syphilis on them. So they infected black people with syphilis so they could watch the lab experiment live at work. No, I'm not talking about World War II and the Nazis experimenting on Jews. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the Nazis in this country that experimented on black people. And that's part of American history. The same American history that these devils are trying to erase or revise at the very least, and at the very least trying to prevent being taught in schools. Now, just think about it. They want their sanitized version of American history to be taught. Just think about how trifling and low down that is. And then you'll realize that the people that are perpetrating this and the people that are aligning themselves with people that think that way, they are the worst members of our society. Because remember, certain people only vote for certain other people. I'm not supposed to get political, but I will tell you this. Republicans obviously appeal to the worst members of our society. And yes, I'm saying it. If you vote Republican, you're basically one of the worst members of our society. Now, that is something that I will not be saying often, but I did want to get that out there. Republicans appeal to the worst members of our society. Why? Because they come from the worst members of our society. And Democrats are only slightly more palatable. I ain't going to say better. I'm going to say slightly more palatable, but not that much. Ooh, no, not that much. Remember back in the day, Clinton? He the one came up with that scenario that locked up a lot of black Americans, a lot of people of color, especially black Americans. He came up with those policies that damn near wiped us out in the 90s. Clinton, he was a Democrat, remember? He came up with that stupid policy that hurt us. The criminal justice policies that warehoused us. He came up with that, along with some other morons. So, who you align yourself with politically is no interest of myself right now. My job is just to give you information about what's going on. How well does Paxlovid work? Let's finish this. In 2022, November, the CDC reported on a real-world study that showed adults who took Paxlovid within 5 days of a COVID-19 diagnosis had a 51% lower hospitalization rate within the next 30 days. Whoop-de-doo. Whoop-de-doo. Thank you. I guess that's important. How does it work with kids? Children and teenagers ages 6 to 17 who had the COVID-19 symptoms and test positives are neither hospitalized nor at risk for severe disease. They were given the drug, and they basically said that the drug works based on the metabolism, the weight of the child, what have you. Basically what they're saying is it will work on your kids, but just make sure that they meet certain criteria. Does Paxlovid works against Omicron? What is Omicron? That's another variation of this COVID-19 scheme. I say scheme. I say scheme. COVID-19 scheme that has turned into a pandemic. Ain't it amazing? Out of the blue, we came up with COVID, right? Out of the blue, we came up with AIDS, huh? Out of the blue, we came up with polio. And who do you think profits off of these diseases? Pharmaceutical companies, doctors. One day we're going to give a whole show of the relationship between your doctor and your hospital and how that increases your bill. Does Paxlovid work against Omicron? Pfizer says the drug works against the highly contagious variant. 3 laboratory-based studies claim to back this up. 2 of the studies were conducted by Pfizer, however. The third was done by Pfizer in partnership with the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai. These studies have not yet published in peer-reviewed medical journals. I wonder why. Yeah, you know why? Because Pfizer is paying for the study. Pfizer is the one that's making the drugs, one of the pharmaceutical companies that's making the vaccination drug. I got the Pfizer 1 and 2, and then the what do you call it, the booster, whatever. Everything that you were supposed to take to stay protected, I took, and I still got COVID. So that tells me that COVID is still here. Now, where did COVID originally come from? We're not going to debate that. But I will say this. COVID was artificially created in a lab somewhere. It did not occur naturally. Just like AIDS, that didn't occur naturally. That didn't occur naturally. What are the side effects of Paxlovid? Hives, trouble swallowing or breathing, swelling of the mouth, lips, and face, throat tightness, hoarseness, skin rash, altered or impaired sense of taste, diarrhea, increased blood pressure, muscle aches, abdominal, nausea, feeling generally unwell. Wait a minute. If those are the side effects, those are the same symptoms of COVID-19. So how the hell do you know if the drug is working? Another reason why I did not take the drug. How the hell the side effects are the same as if you had the COVID symptoms? So that's telling me the drug may or may not work. That's basically what it's saying. Okay? Can I take Paxlovid if I'm taking other meds? They say there's a long list of meds Paxlovid may interact with. And in some cases, doctors may not prescribe Paxlovid because these interactions may cause serious complications. Guess what? Seeing that this drug came into this country from a foreign country on an emergency use authorization from the FDA, the federal government, we have to be very wary of the drug's effects and effects. Effects and effects. Okay? So right away, based on the previous side effects that I just mentioned, the side effects are the same as the COVID symptoms. So how the hell you know the drug is working? How the hell do you know what the interactions with other drugs are? There are too many. There are just too many drugs out there. What's the rebound effect of Paxlovid? There's a report of a rebound of COVID-19 symptoms in some people 2 to 8 days after completing a 5-day course. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, newsflash, if the symptoms are similar to the symptoms, then this so-called rebound means that the drug was basically not effectual to that individual. Come on, guys. Come on. Snap out of it. Is there something else you can take that if you don't want to take Paxlovid? Yeah, you can take OTC drugs like Theraflu and get rid of 3 or 4 of the symptoms. Then take your home test kit and retest yourself, and then go to a pharmacy or your doctor and get retested. But the first thing you should do, look at some OTC stuff like Theraflu. That's what I did. And then the lemon ginger water. By the way, let me take another hit of the lemon ginger water. Come on, folks. Okay? Try the holistic approach first. Then if you're desperate, you want to get desperate, then you can go get the Paxlovid. Do I still need to be up to date on vaccination if Paxlovid is available? Vaccination testing and mitigation efforts remain a key part of prevention. Enough said on that. First of all, did you get vaccinated in the first place? Because there's a lot of dumbass people out there that were duped by other dumbass people, and they never got vaccinated. So this is one reason why COVID is still here. I'm willing to bet you dollars to donuts that the people that didn't get vaccinated, I'm willing to bet you that they are the carriers of COVID or have gotten sick from a carrier. COVID is the new typhoid, the new cholera. Okay? SARS-2, hantavirus, all of these diseases that were artificially created in the lab. Okay? Bird flu. I mean, come on, guys. Now they calling it COVID. It used to be called COVID, bird flu. Okay? Hantavirus. Remember that one? Excuse me. That was another virus. You don't remember the hantavirus? It was supposed to be started by field mice back in the day, maybe what, 10, 15 years ago, if not longer? Look it up. My name is Robert Isaiah, ladies and gentlemen. My job is to give you quality of life information that you may or may not have known already. If you didn't know already, fine, I'll give it to you. Open your ears. If you did know it already, fine. Maybe I can give you a new insight into what you already know. My job at Insight Volunteer Management Services is to give you quality of life information, whether you like it or not, or whether you want to hear it or not. And usually it's for your quality of life benefit, quite frankly. IVMS partners with the Office of Faith-Based Initiative, First Step Clinical Services, which will provide quality mental wellness for people who may be mentally suffering from COVID. We have a licensed professional, Mr. LaMarvin Bell, on point. He'll help you out. Safe Space New Jersey. We are collaborating with Safe Space New Jersey. Bada bing. They help remediate bullying. Another scourge in this country is bullying. Third leading cause of suicide among teens is bullying related. Come on, guys. Bullying ain't no rite of passage. It's one weak person attacking a person who may or may not be weak. Just because you're being bullied doesn't mean you're weak. It means you don't want to be bothered. And the person doing the bullying is far weaker than the person that is being bullied. Keep that in mind. That's why Safe Space New Jersey is here. We're also here and collaborating with the Neighborhood Assistance Office that is run by Executive Director Nancy Greer. She's also the Executive Director for Safe Space New Jersey. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate her help. I do still have COVID, remember? We appreciate the collaborative efforts from Neighborhood Assistance Office, Safe Space New Jersey, First Step Clinical Services, and of course the Office of Faith-Based Initiative. Thank you, Mr. Eddie Laponte, for the funding given to our organization, which allowed us to purchase the equipment to get this done. My name, once again, is Robert Isaiah. I hope that I was able to give you some sort of insight into quality of life information. If there's anything you want to know or would like to have a topic discussed, contact me at ivms.org@gmail.com. Go to the website at ivms1.com. Go to that website. We have an email widget that you can use. Drop us a line. And drop us a line. And we will, sorry about that phone call. Drop us a line and we'll be more than happy to discuss your topic in detail if you want. You can give us topics to discuss. We'll do it. Or you'll have to listen to me drone on and on. Nah, but seriously, folks, thank you very much for listening to the IVMS Insight Volunteer Management Services Info Pod. I'm Robert Isaiah. Thanks for listening. Peace.